Hello dear students, today we are reading Civics Lesson 1, the Indian Constitution of Class 8th CBSE Board. Very important chapter. Actually, you should know what the Constitution is and what are the important points which we are going to cover in this lesson. They are requirement. Why there is requirement of Constitution for a country? Key features. What are the key features of Constitution? And next is fundamental rights, how they are important for a nation, for citizens. So let us start. Why does a country need a constitution? Suppose you study in some school. There are few rules, few guidelines for the students, like what time you should arrive in the school, what time your bell will ring for the first period, for the lunch period, for the games period, and what is the dress code for you in the school, what time you will leave your school. So these all rules are being noted down somewhere in your diary, school diary, or some wall, or in some book. So those diaries of your school, it works as your constitution of your school. Similarly, to run some countries smoothly, any nation requires a constitution, right? All democratic countries likely to have constitution, but it is not necessary that all countries with constitution are democratic. It means, see, all the countries of the world, they might be having the constitution, but it is not compulsory that all the countries whosoever is having constitution are democratic. Like Saudi Arabia, it is being ruled by a king. They also have a constitution. But Saudi Arabia is not a democratic country. It is a monarchy. Monarchy means when some nation is being ruled by a king or queen. Similarly, North Korea, it is being ruled by a dictator. He might be having some sort of small constitution, but we cannot count North Korea as a democratic country. It is a dictatorship country. So are you getting the point? It means many countries can have the constitution, but all the countries which are having constitution does not mean that they have democracy in their country. India has constitution, but at the same time India has democracy also. So these are some examples of the constitution book of various countries. Constitution serves various purposes. Why constitution is being made? A constitution tells us what is the fundamental nature of our society is. Means our society, take it as a whole, means our country. If you sometime goes out of your country and somebody asks you what kind of country, what kind of government in your country is, so what will be your answer? Will you say it is being ruled by a king? Will you say it is ruled by some dictator? You will say your country is ruled by a government, and that is a democratic government. So this is the nature of your country's government, and our constitution tells the nature of the government. A constitution helps serve as a set of rules and principles that all persons in a country can be agreed upon. Means those rules should be such which we are ready to follow. Again, take example of your school. Suppose all the girls are being given the dress code of wearing lehengas. But you see, in present time, lehenga is not a comfortable dress to wear upon. So if out of 500 girls in your school, only 10 to 50 girls, they are ready to wear lehengas. Rest 450 girls, they are not ready to wear lehengas. It means the rule is not acceptable widely. So what the school will have to do, they will have to change that rule. And the majority of the girls, which dress they are comfortable with, such dress will be made for them. Similarly, in our country, only those rules are accepted which are agreed by everyone. Not everyone, you can say, but maximum number of the people, they are agreed with those rules which are there in our constitution book. History of Nepal. Let us talk about Nepal. Nepal was a monarchy. It's not now. It was long back. It was ruled by king. Now what the problem was? The previous constitution of Nepal, which had been adopted in 1990, it's not long back. See, before 1990, there was not even a constitution over there. But in 1990, when they made their constitution, so the constitution which was adopted in 1990, it gave all the power and all the authority to the king. So this is not the constitution when all the power is only with king and people, they don't have the power. So what happened then? People's Movement of Nepal. Movement in Nepal fought for several decades to establish democracy. People didn't like the way a king should rule their country. They wanted democracy in their country also. So they fought for a movement. They did movement for many years, 10, 20, 30 years. And finally what happened? In 2006, they succeeded in putting an end to the powers of the king. And finally, king surrendered. He said, okay, now we will bring democracy in the country of Nepal. Then what happened? The people had to write a new constitution to establish Nepal as a democracy, because when our country also got its freedom in 1947, we also did not follow the constitution of Britain or the British. We wrote a fresh constitution for our country. Similarly, Nepalese also wanted a new constitution for their country, because the earlier constitution, it was giving all the power to the king. So, Nepal moved from monarchy to democracy. So now Nepal is a democratic country. Nepal's earlier constitution stated that the country to be ruled by king and his council of ministers. King will appoint few ministers, but only as per his wish. This is why the people of Nepal, they adopted a new constitution for the country in 2015. So their constitution is not so very old. It's just a new constitution. The constitution plays a crucial role in laying out some important guidelines that govern decision making. Next topic is democracy. What is democracy? It is rule by the people, for the people and of the people. Means in democratic country, government is chosen by the people. How? We give our votes. And when we give our votes, then only government is formed, and it is run for the people. All the welfare policies of the government, they make for us only. And it is of the people, means we are 135 crores of people in India. We all cannot go and sit in the parliament because we have our other works also. So what we do, we choose our one representative, means we choose our one MP, and that MP goes to the parliament on behalf of us. It means the government is ours. We are sending our one representative into the parliament. So this is the power of the democracy. In a democracy, we choose our leaders so that they can exercise power responsibly on our behalf. There is a possibility that these leaders might misuse their authority, and the constitution usually provides safeguards against them. Now what happens? Sometime when we choose our MPs, then as soon as they reach parliament, they forget the people and they start misusing their power. So in such case, constitution has given us the power to go to the courts to stop the misuse of the power by the member of the parliament. So this is the good thing about our constitution, that at the same time it has given MPs a lot of power, but at the same time it has given a check on their misuse of their power. If they are using their power for good work, then it is fine. But if they are using their power for bad things, bad works, then they will not be tolerated by the India. And now let us talk about the key features of Indian Constitution. First is federalism. What you mean by federalism? As you can see in this picture, three hands are holding each other. First is central government, second is state government, third is panchayat. It refers, federalism means existence of more than one level of government in the country. And in the second word, and it is also known as three-tier government. It was important to have another level of government in the state so that decision could be made for that particular area. India is the 7th largest country of the world and second most densely populated country of the world with 135 crore of people living in it. So, managing and ruling such a big country is not a cup of cake. So what the central government has done, what our constitution has done, it has provided many level of government. Like India has been divided into various states, and to rule those states, constitution has made CM means chief minister, and again a state has been divided into various districts and various villages, and those villages are again ruled by a small leader who are known as panchayat, panch, sarpanch, pradhan. Okay, that level is known as panchayat. So three levels are there, starting from below: panchayat level, state level, and central government. Center government, it sits in center means in Delhi, and it rules whole of the country. And state government, it rules only their state, and panchayat government, it rules their village. So all these government, they work hand in hand with each other. Next is parliamentary form of government. What do you mean by parliamentary? Means in India, the people of India have a direct role in electing their representatives. As I have already told you, we choose the government by our votes. Constituent Assembly felt that the freedom struggle had prepared the masses for the universal adult suffrage. Universal means common for everyone. Adult means a person who has completed 18 years of age in India. This age may be different for some other country, but in India, if we have completed 18 years of age, then we have got the right to vote. Every citizen of the country, irrespective of her social background, can contest the election. It is not that only a rich and wealthy people can be elected in the parliament. See, this is the example of current parliament, and this person, Konda V. Reddy, he is member of the parliament from Telangana. He is the richest parliamentarian, having 528 crore rupees of the property. But there are the people who are having nothing with them, who don't have even a single paisa of property with them. He is Pratap Chandra Sarangi. He is MP from Sikar, Rajasthan. He has only 34,000 rupees of the property. Nowadays, you buy more than 50,000 rupees only for the mobile phone. You spend it. 34,000 mein to you buy branded shoes and branded lehengas for some particular wedding. So this poor person, he is having only 34,000 rupees total property, but yet see the power of the constitution and democracy. He has been selected and elected by people of his area, and now he is MP in the parliament. So it is the beauty of Indian democracy that any person of any background, any religion, they can fight and choose their leaders. And she is Sabnam Bano, MLA from Madhya Pradesh. She is transgender. So it shows that even the transgender person can go and elect the election. Separation of power. Third feature of the constitution is there are three organs of government. They are legislative, executive, and judiciary. Legislative में it comes parliament means Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Executive, president comes under it. Judiciary, all the courts of India, they come under judiciary. Now let us get more detail about these things. Legislative means parliament, where all the elected leaders of the country they sit, and executive means when all those elected leaders they go to parliament. Suppose right now we have the government of BJP. We have one more party in our country who's sitting in the parliament, that is Congress also. But what happens when the BJP government wants to make some policy, then what it has done, it has made few ministers from their party. Like there is education minister who is from BJP, Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank. There is a finance minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, she is again from BJP. So all the important ministers, they are being made from the winning party, and they together are known as executive. Why executive? Because they are the head of their particular department. No person from other party, like from Shiv Sena, like from BSP, like from SP or Congress, they are not the member of this executive committee. Only the winning party will be made the member of this executive committee, and what they do, they make various rules for the country. Finance minister will make rule for the finance of the country. Defense minister will make rule for the army, navy and air force of the country. Education minister will make rules and policies for the education department. So these all the ministers together, they are known as executive, along with president and prime minister. And third one is judiciary. Judiciary means all the courts, district court, session court and supreme and high court. What is their work? Suppose if these two bodies misuse their power, then where will we go? We are common people, we don't have this much of power. Then where we will go and do complaint against these two people? We will go to judiciary, and they will keep check on these people's power. That's why judiciary is the important organ of the Indian system. Fourth one is fundamental rights. They are also very important. See how there are 6 fundamental rights in India. Right to equality. First, all persons are equal before the law. Whenever you go to court, no person sitting in the court asks your religion before you need to fight for your rights. They only just ask your problem. They don't ask your caste, they don't ask your color, they don't ask your language, they don't ask your religion. What matters in the court is your problem. Okay, so it shows that everybody is equal before the law. Next is right to freedom. Nobody can put us behind the bar without any reason. Fine, we all are free. How we are free? We have the freedom of speech. Anything good which will not hurt anybody, we can speak such words. We have the freedom of expressions, means if we are feeling angry, we can show the expression of anger. If we are feeling gratitude, we can show the expression of gratitude, expression of love, expression of emotions. Next is freedom of assemble. Assemble means to form the groups, to assemble at one place. Suppose I am feeling very bored, then I want to go to some of my friend's house, and thereafter we went to some park and sat there for a long time. So then also government cannot make us go out from there. So to get assembled anywhere, but peaceful assembly. Okay, it doesn't mean that I should make assembly, I should make group of people and start throwing stones on the other. That will be regarded as a crime. So I have a right to gather with my friends, with some groups, political parties at various places, but it should be in peaceful manner. Next is move in the country. Nobody asks me why you are going out of your city, why you are coming to our state, why you are going to their state. Nobody can ask you such question. It shows that you have the freedom of movement anywhere inside your country. See what happens during our summer vacation and winter vacation. We just book our ticket and take our baggage and rush towards the holiday destination inside our country. So that is also the beauty of our country. Next is freedom to choose a job. Suppose I want to do a job of masonry, I can do it. Suppose I want to open a business, I can do it. Suppose I want to work for somebody, I can do it. Suppose I want to work for some NGO, I can do it. So any kind of work, again, which is not harming anyone. Any kind of work doesn't mean that I should start killing the animals, I should start killing the human beings, I should start troubling the people. That is not the work which I can choose. But any kind of job which give me money to look after my family, such job I can choose. And religion, suppose I am Hindu, I don't like my religion, so I can change my religion to Christianity. Suppose I am Muslim, I am not liking my religion, I can convert into Hinduism. So a person is also free to choose their religion and free to change their religion also. Third fundamental right is right against exploitation. What it says, it stops human trafficking. Human trafficking means selling and buying of the human beings. In earlier history, I have read in North America what used to happen. The people of Europe, they used to bring a lot of slaves from Africa. All the black South African people, they were being sold in the markets of America to make them their slaves in the houses. How pity on those people. So, but India, thank God, it is not existing now. It is being banned by the government of India that nobody can sell any human being, nobody can buy any human being. Second is forced labor. Nobody can force you to do labor in their house, at their factories, at their any places, right? Nobody. If you have the wish, if you have the choice, if you want to work, then it is your wish to work. But nobody can force you to do work for them. And next is employment of children under 14 years of age is also illegal. If you see such persons, such boys and girls working somewhere, if you'll complain against those owners, they will be behind the bars. Fourth fundamental right is right to freedom of religion. Every person has the right to practice, profess and propagate the religion of their choice. Cultural and educational right. Minorities. What do you mean by minorities? Suppose in India, out of 135 crore of people, 75% they are Hindu, rest 15% they are Muslim, and rest are Buddhist, Jainism, Sikh, Christian. So the people who are less in number, they are known as minorities. Understood? So Indian government has given them freedom that they can set up their educational institutes to improve their religion, to propagate their religion. So you must have seen various colleges and schools which are being named after the Christian god, like St. Thomas College, St. Joseph College, St. Patrick College. So these institutions are being set up by the Christian missionaries so that they can do the advertisement of their gods' sayings. And similarly, you must have heard about the madrasas. Madrasas are being opened by the Muslim communities where they teach the Muslim students about their religion. And sixth and the last and the very important fundamental right is right to constitutional remedies. What it is, citizen can move to court if they believe that their fundamental rights have been violated by the state. Suppose I feel constitution has given me the freedom of speech, and I have written something on my Twitter account, I have written something on my Facebook account, but it should not hurt anybody. But what happens, some group of the opposition people which are not liking my thinking, they might arrest me. So in such case, I can move to court, and there I can ask that where is my freedom of speech? When I have written something, why the government has put me behind the bars, why they have kept me in the jail? Then court will look into the matter, and if my written speech is correct, if it is not harming anyone, then the government will have to revert their decision. They have to immediately release me from the prison. So this is where if we feel that some of our fundamental right is not given to us by the government, then we can move to the courts. Fundamental rights. Why there is need of fundamental right? It is required to protect citizens against the arbitrary and absolute exercise of power by the state. Now, what is arbitrary? Arbitrary means one-sided. When government doesn't listen to anybody, then it becomes arbitrary government. Next is the constitution therefore also guarantees the rights of minorities against the majority. Now, if constitution has not given equality right to everyone, then what would have happened? All the people who are in majority, they would have trouble. They would have somehow they would have trouble the people who belong to the minority. The first objective is that every citizen must be in a position to claim those rights. Suppose we are going to the court to claim our right, but we should ensure that we are also correct at our position. And secondly, these rights must be binding upon every authority that has got the power to make laws, and these rights are for all the government institution, all the private institution, and all the individuals of the country. Indian Constitution, and fourth feature is secularism. What do you mean by secularism? A secular state is one in which the state does not officially promote any one religion as the state religion. As I talked about Saudi Arabia, the religion of Saudi Arabia is Islam. No other religion in that country can open their religious temples, religious churches, religious gurdwaras. So that government is so protective about their religion that they don't support any other religion. No Hindu people can go and worship there in open or can construct a small temple of his own. Such is the condition over there. Similarly, Myanmar is a Buddhist country. Bhutan is a Buddhist country. They propagate and they do the propagation of their own religion. But India is a secular state. We don't have any religion of the state. It means all the religions are equal in our country. This is one of the image of Afghanistan, where this statue of Gautam Buddha was being destroyed by the Islamic people. Why? Because they don't like any other religion to come in their country. So this statue, they destroyed it by bombarding it. But there are the countries which are equally and friendly with all the religion. This is one of the picture of Canada, where Hindu community they have come up with a very grand temple, as you can see, but it is in Canada. So there are countries which accept others' religions also. This is again one of the example of the beautiful temple which is being constructed in United States of America. Do you know Baba Saheb Dr. Ambedkar is known as the father of the Indian Constitution. He was the chairman of the drafting committee. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was the president of the Constituent Assembly. Thank you, and please do like and subscribe our channel Wow Education, which is going to benefit you not only in your studies in your class but in your all other competitions also. Thank you so much.